Come, let us explore Patrul's third yoga of perception. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. Don't be shy, introduce yourself over the chat, and let me know if you have any questions or special needs right off the bat. The recommended reading for tonight's class are the 49th through 54th passages of Tantra's Treasure of Raktatari, which can be downloaded for free, along with this practice text from the downloads page, whose link can be found in the description area below this video. As we get to the place in the text tonight, we notice it's on page 157. Navigating a PDF to page 157 upon one's cell phone can be a nightmare. So here's the fix. Number 1, download the free Kindle app. Number 2, once you've downloaded the PDF to your phone, migrate it into the app. Number 3, when you're given a choice between opening it up as a Kindle doc or as a PDF doc, choose the PDF doc. That way you will have ease of navigation upon your smartphone and ease of bookmarking. 4, everything I create, let's replace the K with a G. Everything I create in these courses is formatted to be read upon one's smartphone in the horizontal position, which is profoundly convenient and makes the practice of the Buddha's path pretty much excuse-free. Who was Patrul? In the 1800s, in Tibet, Patrul was considered a great saint who was born a tulku, which means he was recognized as a reincarnated Lama. And in his late adolescence, he had it up to here with the politics of monastic life and became a wandering yogi, which is pretty intense. That's a pretty courageous thing to do. As a young man, he was thoroughly indoctrinated in fundamentalist Buddhist Tantra, and he wrote a book teaching Buddhist Tantra from the perspective of fundamentalism as a young man, and the title was The Words of My Perfect Teacher. And to this day, this text is translated and read and lauded as being wonderful. But wait, there's more. After a lifetime of practice, he made the journey from fundamentalism to liberalism, from patriarchy to matriarchy, from yang to yin. And as a very old man, at the very end of his age, he wrote a final meditation manual, which in English can be translated as the heart treasure of the enlightened ones. I have adapted it and written a commentary to it. You are welcome to play with it to your heart's content. So tonight we're going to perform meditations in harmony with the very liberal teachings that Patrul Rinpoche gave at the end of his life. Now, if you think that is merely the product of Alzheimer's, I will have you know that the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet teaches that this text that I'm referring to is a complete path. Now, for a member of the Yellow Hat sect to say that is profoundly high praise indeed. And then figuratively, he says that beautiful language in which it is written is very much like an elixir for reviving the dead. Now, this doesn't make zombies, that's just a very flowery compliment. So, we are teaching this. Tonight we're exploring techniques from the perspective of this great saint, and for me as a Dharma hero. Now, it doesn't matter if the Dalai Lama likes him. It doesn't matter if I like him. All that matters are the results that we generate from applying these teachings twice a day, every day, for at least 7 consecutive days. That is the only way to really know if this shit works. We're going to begin by practicing a distinctly tantric version of the 4 bases of mindfulness. Before the Buddha was called the Buddha, which is simply a nickname meaning the enlightened one, he was the monk Gautama. And before he was the monk Gautama, he was the Prince Siddhartha, living a debaucherous life in a palace. He escaped that life in hopes of finding something more. And after shaving his head and putting on robes, he studied with not one but two teachers of his day who taught him the art of deep concentration. They were thrilled with his progress, but he was really dissatisfied. So he practiced for an additional 5 years in the forest, sometimes with ascetics, sometimes not, performing absurd austerities almost to the point of death. So finally he came to the realization that asceticism is as absurd as debauchery, and so he chose to find the middle way. And it seems very likely, based upon his teachings, that he began to look at concentration as an act of asceticism, for he no longer practiced it. He practiced the opposite. Instead of practicing concentration, rigid and active and compressing and controlling, he chose to practice mindfulness, vulnerable and acquiescent and surrendered and non-conceptual. For the first time in years, he was no longer resisting the metaphoric doors of his perception. And as they flung wide open, he was inundated with sensory information of sensations and flavors and scents and sights and sounds, as well as emotions and intentions and thoughts and memories and imaginings. And so to cope with this, he devised a system that became the cornerstone of the path that he would teach. And that is the Satipatthana, or the 4 bases of mindfulness. From the perspective of Sutra, like taught by the Theravadins or the Mahayanans, the 4 bases of mindfulness would be body and feelings and mind and phenomena. However, from the point of view of Tantra or Mantrayana or Vajrayana, as practiced in North India and Tibet and Mongolia, the 4 bases of mindfulness were circumstance and body and our experience of the interpersonal and our experience of the mind itself. And that is the cornerstone of the practice. Just the way that sprinters push off against starter's blocks, we're going to begin tonight's practice with the tantric perspective of the 4 bases of mindfulness. But first, I'm going to turn on the air conditioner before I drown in my own sweat. So, quick like a bunny, I'm going to hit a special page. All right. Alrighty, isn't that cool? What a technological terror this is, eh? Do not be impressed with this technological terror, for it is nothing compared to the power of the Force. Every geek just got chills. So we're going to blend the type of the flavor, the flavor of tantra we're going to practice for the next 4 exercises is a blend of sutra plus mantra plus simile. We're going to begin with sutra, our circumstance. Now, circumstance, a synonym for circumstance, is our lot in life. And in contemplative notation, we like to shrink things down to a minimum number of syllables, so we refer to our lot in life as our lot. Lots. Seen, yet void. In Mahayana Buddhism, we talk about the 2 truths, the conventional and the ultimate, which is just a fancy pants way of saying mindfulness and insight, which is another fancy pants way of saying noticing and letting go. If you only practice one, you're not going to get very far in the path. I once had a pal who only practiced mindfulness, never practiced letting go. One day he walked in on his wife making love to another man, and he walked into the living room. He was mindful of his emotions. He did not know what to do with those emotions, and he trashed the living room. We need an outlet. Some people are so obsessed with letting go, they forget to notice things, telling themselves pseudo-spiritual sounding lies like, everything's just an illusion. It doesn't really matter. It does matter. Stuff matters. So, just as a bird requires both its wings, can you see my 2 wings? Both its wings to take to the skies. Likewise, we need both awareness and letting go to master the Buddha's path of liberation. And so we acknowledge that our circumstances can be seen. But could they also be as non-graspable as a vast empty void? This is elaborated upon in a teaching tool I shall now share with you. Brace yourself. That's my drum roll. During each in-breath, our experience of our circumstance could seem permanent and independent and quite tangible. However, as we relax during our out-breath, that exact same circumstance could feel less permanent and less independent and less tangible. And the more we perform these exercises, the more the things we notice could seem as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morning. But do not take my word for it. Put it to the test. We're going to play with the 6-syllable mantra, which we have explained and trained on in earlier videos. I think it was the Naropa's second yoga video that we went into great depth. We're going to go into superficial depth tonight. That's all you need. The question is not whether you pronounce it perfectly. The question is whether you are able to relax as best you can while whispering it. That is the difference. That makes a difference. Okay. As we turn our attention to the left, we see contemplative notation, which tells us that when we notice our body breathing in, we're going to silently and mentally recite these 6 words. Lots like tades, seen yet void. But what do we mean by like tades? There is a superstition that the Buddhas are gods and have paradises of light and bodies of light, and they communicate through mantras of light, and their minds are syllables comprised of light. And if we view that literally, it will feed our superstition. It'll keep us locked into our brainstem and locked into a state of spiritual childishness. However, if we view that mythology through the eyes of metaphor, it can actually strengthen our practice of letting go. So, our circumstance could be as non-graspable as the Buddha Tade's paradise of light. For our circumstance, like her paradise of light, is seen, yet non-graspable. As non-graspable as a rainbow, or a beam of light shining through your window on a Sunday morning. So let's play with this right now. We're going to perform this for one set of 4 breaths. We know it's the first set because we're going to count our set by touching the tip of our left thumb to our left little finger and slide that boy down all the way to the lower set of creases. Both hands are going to rest upon their respective thighs, head above shoulders, shoulders above tuchus, feet flat upon the floor, assuming you are sitting in a chair, for I know I am. We're going to count 4 repetitions, 1 repetition on each finger of our right hand. Upon each finger, we're going to whisper the mantra 4 times per breath. So just follow along with me. Lots like tades, seen yet void. Each of these lessons are suitable for people who are walk-in students. But many people enjoy coming to these because there's a circuit of about 30 lessons, and every month it resets and starts from scratch. Some people really find that helpful, and other people don't. So let's continue. Lots like tades, seen yet void. And now you get the basic idea. Let's count upon the 3 sets of creases and tip of our right middle finger. Om rhymes with home. Ta sounds like ta-ta. Ray sounds like Ray from the Ghostbusters or a ray gun. Tom sounds like a posh way of saying Thomas, or a casual way of saying Thomas. So is like Captain Picard telling his crew on the bridge to make it so. Ha, that's the sound you make when I tell a joke. All right, let's continue with the 3 sets of creases and tip of our right index finger. Lots like tades, seen yet void. We get very uptight, trying to do everything perfectly. A liberal knows they won't do everything perfectly, but if they persist in time, they will get better. Their improvement will just be inevitable. And so they reconcile themselves to having a learning curve and relax. And because they relax, their learning curve is much shorter than the fundamentalists. What a delicious irony. We turn the page now from circumstance to bodies. We're going to advance the tip of our left thumb up our left little finger to the middle set of creases. Forms like tares, felt yet void. Forms is a fancy way of saying bodies. Our body. How do we experience our bodies as being as non-graspable as Tadi's body of light? By relaxing to the whispered recitation of the mantra. Forms like tares, felt yet void. And now we advance from body to our experience of the interpersonal. We relate to others through communication, both verbal and nonverbal. A metaphor for communication is the word speech. How could our speech be as non-graspable as Tare's mantra of light? How do we experience it as such? By relaxing into the whispered recitation of the 6-syllable mantra. Let's advance the tip of our left thumb up our left little finger to the higher set of creases. And now we come to the fourth and final base of mindfulness, our mind. Our mind is that which perceives the information of its 5 sense organs. Mind perceives sensation and flavor and scent and sound and sight, but it also perceives what's going on between its ears. It perceives our emotions and intentions and thoughts and memories and imaginings, voluntary and involuntary. What do we mean by the word clear? If you have a jar full of water on your kitchen counter and you put a handful of sand in it, stir it up, and the particles are in suspension, you won't be able to see through it. The water will not be clear. You won't be able to tell how many hands I'm holding up behind the bottle of water. Fingers I'm holding up. However, when the particles settle, water clears, you will be able to perceive through the water. Thus, we use clarity as a synonym for perception. I know it's roundabout, but our brains are wired to think symbolically at the deepest level. So even though metaphors and similes might confound our prefrontal cortex, they delight the inner recesses of our minds. So we're touching the tip of our left thumb to the tip of our left little finger. Minds, how do we experience our minds as being as non-graspable as Tare's syllable of light, syllable tom of light? By relaxing into the whispered recitation of her mantra. People want to know what it means. There are many ways of translating it. As a screaming liberal, I translate it this way. It's invocation of love and letting go and the intention that all beings everywhere master them to the point of being able to practice them spontaneously and habitually and easily and effectively. Om is invocation, Soha is supplication, Tare is love and compassion, Tom is letting go. There are many interpretations. I suspect the one I just gave you is the highest. So, once again, this is not based on faith. This is based on the scientific method. We play with these techniques, we notice the results. We play with these techniques twice a day, every day for 7 consecutive days, and then we notice the results. If the results suck, then we go and find another set of techniques. If the results are fabulous, then we persist with them. And perhaps return to the teacher who gave them to us, acquire more techniques. Minds like Tade's, clear yet void. And now that we've done our preparatory practices for this evening, it's time for, you guessed it, the main event. Ting, 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 ting. Tantra's 5 perceptions. Well, we've already talked about the 5 perceptions. We already have 5 sense organs. We already have, flesh and, we already have skin, and tongue and nose and eyes and ears. What else is there? Let's tune in and find out. Bringing sensation into the path of awareness and acquiescence. On the in-breath, we're going to recite, silently and mentally recite, we're going to be feeding these words to our inner narrator, our inner Rod Serling, or Morgan Freeman, or Sigourney Weaver. How relax into the awareness of these sensations, felt yet void. How do we experience the non-graspability of these sensations? By relaxing into the whispered recitation of the We advance our left thumb up to our left ring finger's middle set of creases, and now we turn our attention to flavor. How relax into the awareness of these flavors, tasted yet void. Let us advance the tip of our left thumb up our left ring finger to its higher set of creases. How relax into the awareness of these scents, smelled yet void. How do we experience the non-graspable nature of whatever we smell? By relaxing into the whispered recitation of the 6-syllable mantra. Let us advance the tip of our left thumb up our left ring finger to its tip. How relax into the awareness of these sounds, heard yet void. How do we viscerally experience, not intellectually, but viscerally experience the non-graspable nature of all that we hear? By physically relaxing into the whispered recitation of the 6-syllable mantra. Well, we have one more exercise, but we appear to have run out of finger. So now the thumb is going to continue its journey upon the left ring finger, down the back side of the left little finger, and stopping at the higher knuckle. Not the higher crease, but the higher knuckle. Just like we were going to flick a burger. Not that you've ever pictured this. Not you. But other people. How relax into the awareness of these sights, seen yet void. How then? How do we viscerally experience the non-graspable nature of all that we see? By relaxing, physically relaxing, as best we can, into the whispered recitation of the 6-syllable mantra of red Tara. We have just performed 9 mantra-empowered contemplations. If our brain was a dog, it would be panting. So we are going to soothe it, not with an additional contemplation, but with a meditation. Meditation is different than contemplation. With contemplation, we had an object. We were considering our 5 senses, or the 4 bases of mindfulness. Now we're just working or playing with whatever pops up, like a great spiritual whack-a-mole. Whatever pops up, we watch the play of mind and we relax into its release. For physical relaxation is a precursor to mental release, to mentally letting go. Meditation, the Buddha's style of meditation, has many names: Zen, Chan, Mahamudra, Mahasandhi, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, Gyatso, a bunch of names. Our practice of it is going to be remarkably easy. During the in-breath, we're going to silently and mentally recite, "Notice this." And during our out-breath, we're going to silently and mentally recite, "Relaxing." While we've silently and mentally recite the word relaxing, we're not using relaxing as an adjective, we're using it as a verb. What are we doing? We are choosing to relax. No, this is not an affirmation. This is simply words we're using to guide our intention, which guides our energy, which guides our mind, which guides our body. Notice this. The pronoun "this" is deliciously vague, and it applies to whatever we notice, whether it is external or internal, real, imagined, or recalled, pleasurable or painful, glorious or grotesque, whether it is a sensation, a flavor, a scent, a sight, a sound, whether it is an emotion, an intention, a thought, a recollection, or an imagination. Whatever we experience, notice this: relaxing. Let us count upon the lower set of creases of our left middle finger and count our repetitions or our breaths upon our right hand. We're going to do this for 16 breaths. Notice, beginning with our right little finger. Notice this: relaxing. We continue on our right ring finger. I'm probably breathing faster than you because I'm doing all this talking. Continue upon our right middle finger. Notice this: relaxing. and conclude upon our right index finger. We're going to conclude our practice with a concise practice of love. Let us advance the tip of our left thumb up our left middle finger till it comes to the middle set of creases. Let us count upon the 3 sets of creases and tip of our right little finger. Great luck for all beings lots. In other words, we're wishing everyone's circumstance be lavished with good fortune. Great luck for all beings lots. As we prepare to count upon our right ring finger, great health for all beings forms. And you'll notice we're coordinating our practice of love with our practice of the 4 bases of mindfulness. It always comes back to the 4 bases of mindfulness. We continue upon our right middle finger. Great peace for all beings speech. Remember, speech is a metaphor for our experience of the interpersonal. We conclude by counting upon the 3 sets of creases and tip of our right index finger. Great joy for all beings' minds. And that concludes tonight's live stream. When you practice this on your own, you will have questions. My hope is that you will jot them down and submit your questions to me. Let me adjust that camera here. My hope is that you will reach out to me either over Instagram or over YouTube, either as a comment to a video or during tomorrow's live stream. This is a golden opportunity to submit your questions to a meditation master. Please seize this opportunity. If you have found value in these videos and live streams and blogs and podcasts and class materials numerous and free to download, then please consider supporting this channel by setting up a monthly donation by using the link in the description area below. If you cannot do that at this time, then please support the channel. If you are new, you can do it in 4 ways. You can click the subscribe button. You can click the notifications button in the shape of a bell. And for all returning viewers, additionally, you can click the thumbs up button, the like button, as well as type a comment. For all these things will really help with the algorithm. allow me to dispel the myth of the so-called greedy monk. For in the Tibetan tradition, neither monks, nor yogis, nor lamas are supported by monasteries. Au contraire, they have to pay to stay there. They have to pay for room and board and supplies. And they must do so by relying upon the generosity of patrons, whether those patrons be family, or friends, or students, or strangers. Those men or women who cannot find patrons wander as vagabonds. My friends, I thank you for your time and kind attention. Until next we meet, may you and yours be happy and healthy.